And then these are mostly bready because Judy.
Cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys are
That's
live.
all.
Are
I
we
need
all
to
on?
say.
Okay. We're going to miss you, Brianna.
Yeah.
You sure you're going to be chatting on the other
Do you
end?
want somebody to come in there with you?
I'll just go sit on my couch.
Oh, you're going to sit right behind us?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
so you'll be
okay.
in the same room with us. Thank God. You
All right.
can watch us.
I can do the top.
Hello.
We're on.
We're on.
Just heard us ding.
We're having computer trouble.
Oops.
So we'll give us a minute to get everybody kind of here. Our regulars, CJ and Susan. Oh, good. Our UK gal. Okay, good. I have questions for you. Oh, Rose. Okay, good, Rose. I printed off Rose's answers. Robin, hi, Robin from Plano, Texas. And hi, Allison. Allison doesn't always get to join us. Usually I get a big old long email. All I got was a text saying she loved it. So so we'll give it just a couple more seconds here. So we're having just weird little camera glitches. So Brianna couldn't get.
Don't sit the camera. The C word totally messes
I'm
with
not
them.
going to say this. I'm not going to say the camera word.
Don't even go
say
there
it.
with that.
Don't even say it.
Don't.
Do you guys know about the language thing? This is sort of funny. So some people, I got some texts yesterday that the 8th day, I think, 12 days of
language
Christmas, day 8th. Oh yeah, that language thing.
We didn't know you spoke so many languages.
I know. It was automatically interpreting. So they would go to watch the video and I would be speaking in Norwegian or Spanish or whatever. And they couldn't fix it. I know there was like 4 people that happened to. So we don't know. I, of course, called Anna and there was some weird upgrade and
Wow.
super strange. So anyway, it's always something.
Great.
It's always something. So I feel like this will be okay. But Brianna is going to be on the couch behind us on a whole different computer. Brianna, are you then going to be kind of answering?
Yeah, I haven't even got there yet.
She's not even there yet. Oh, hi. CJ, say hi. And Susan.
Lori.
Oh, Lori. Hi, Linda. Oh, Lori. She's from Tasmania. What time is it in Tasmania? Must be. Well, let's see. And it's tomorrow.
And Lori's in Australia right now.
Is it tomorrow?
That's Lori. She's in Tasmania.
What is she doing in Tasmania?
She's, a research person. So she's down there working.
Oh my God.
Australia.
I didn't.
Carla, Mary. Okay, good. We have quite a few people. Robin.
Yeah.
Hi, you guys.
She's going to be in Melbourne
Carolina.
later this week.
Oh, Robin is also in Melbourne, Australia. Robin and Lori, you guys should hook up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Oh, see, they see each other. All right, good.
At 6 a.m.
6 a.m. Oh.
Well, it's better than 2
Oregon.
a.m., I guess.
Yeah,
Oh, good. Patrice is working. We'll
Spilled
whisper.
coffee on my shirt.
Okay. All right. Well, I think Brianna is kind of logging on from behind us. So, all right, we'll go ahead and kind of get started. I have to sort of apologize, I think, because the questions that we had, there was, I think they were maybe kind of intense, but it's kind of funny because the book that we're reviewing is this one. I brought my hard copy, All the Colors of the Dark. And not everybody agrees with me. It'll be interesting to talk to everybody, but I absolutely loved it. I really felt that it is a classic, just so well written, so mesmerizing, almost poetic, the way that he wrote. I just really loved all of it. There was some really bad language in there, but we've talked about that a little bit before. And I personally think that sometimes the author just wants to make very, very sure that you're clear. You don't just think he's a grumpy old man. He was a horrifying man. And I think that sometimes that's kind of what that is. And I also think the same thing. I can't remember, but who was the artist? Oh, Sammy. I kind of feel like Sammy had a super foul mouth also, but in a whole different way.
Mm-hmm.
He was an interesting fellow. And so anyway, I know that not everybody likes that kind of language, and I don't either. But for some reason in this particular book, it didn't seem to matter to me.
Charlotte, too.
Charlotte too. That's true. That's true. There was a couple people that had some bad language, but I still felt that it was so I think the other thing too is people have asked before we start just to kind of talk a little bit about the book, because I think there's a whole bunch of people that don't read it until we talk about it. So as long as you are prepared that there will be huge spoilers, huge spoilers because I feel like this book is a bit of a mystery.
Mhm.
There's a whole lot of mysteries going on at the same time. So there will be some major spoilers with that. But what the book is about is it's basically about these two kids. Like I think it starts when they're about 11 years old. It starts in about 1975. And one is it's a pirate and a beekeeper. So the girl Saint keeps bees, and her mother died during childbirth, and so she's being raised by a very religious but very wonderful grandmother who's kind of masculine and drives the school bus. And then she and Patch become friends. And Patch is this boy that has only one eye, and so he wears a patch and is horribly teased because he's a little bit odd. Very, very poor. These kids are in the Appalachians, and so no money at all, a lot of poverty. And these two in particular don't have anything extra at all. And anyway, so he kind of pretends to be a pirate all the time, I think, because of the eye patch. And really where the story takes off is Patch rescues one of the wealthy girls who was in the process of basically being abducted by this serial murderer. And Patch is taken instead. He is in captivity for 10 months. And then things kind of happen. And then it follows them to adulthood and what happens with them. With the rich girl, Misty, that didn't get taken, with Patch, with Saint, with the parents, the adults in there. And I have to say that me personally, I was mesmerized the entire time, totally invested. I wanted to know what happened to everybody. And I think that this was one of those books that we talked about that I loved the grandma. I loved I loved the police officer, the chief of police. I loved all of the kids involved. I wanted to know what was going to happen with all of them. And for me, the entire time, I thought the book was just about love, maternal love, grandparent love, young love, mature love, the wrong love, choosing the wrong person, all of that stuff, infatuation. I was just fully invested the entire time. For me, I absolutely would give it a 5. The only thing about it, the teeny tiniest thing, is that I thought at the end it ended a little quicker. I mean, I thought that, finally coming to a head who the bad guy was, and the bad guy and Saint almost getting, we went on and on and on about so much of the other stuff that I kind of felt that he deserved a more painful death than that. But anyway, other than that, I just, for me, the whole time I was reading it, it made me think of all of those English lit books that we had to read, of Mice and Men and Human Bondage and all of those things that are just such a mega big story with so many things going on. And it made me think the same way, with this. So anyway, so that's kind of what it's about, a little bit. And from 1975 kind of to modern day. This probably was written 5 years ago, I think. So pretty much modern to adulthood with all of the kids. But anyway, and I give it a 5. Tracy, 5.
Mhm.
Hen, you loved it for what reasons? Same thing.
Yeah, I loved it because I I think it was about love, but I think it was about loving each individual as they are, not
Yes.
because they're rich or they're, they can paint or they can, what they
Right.
have or what they can do, but just accepting and loving each person. Even Sammy, the guy that owned the gallery,
Yeah.
he wouldn't be Sammy without that vulgar language
That's right.
and drinking excessively and womanizing excessively. And that, just and the kids grew to learn to accept and love each other for them, for themselves. And,
I think that's right.
and that even Saint, who went through all of the little cosmetic things to try and catch Patch's attention, he just loved her for her. He didn't look past. He didn't notice that she had contacts or got her little crooked tooth changed or Misty for her she came from a wealthy family, but, he didn't see that either after a while as they grew. I think there was a quote that I saw something about everybody realizes that people are born whole and that the bad things peeled layers from the person you once were.
Oh yeah.
So I think that, if we grow and just learn to accept everybody for who they are and what they go through to become who they are.
I think that's right. I think it really is a lot about personal growth. I agree. Marge, what would you give it? You weren't as big a fan of it, were you?
No, but I was more of a fan than I was of the. Oh, wait a minute. That was a different book.
Project Hail Mary you didn't like.
No, that's what I said. Yeah. Anyway, I give this book a 4 for sure. When it first started out, I didn't know if I could read it because of the way it started. And I don't need to know about bad things. I know bad things happen. But once I got past, and then it got past that. And then when he was in the dark, I can't, you never hear about somebody when they're abducted or kept that they're in the dark.
Right.
He never saw light for over 10 months. And anyway, that was hard to read, that chapter, but then I was able to keep at it. This book will not give me nightmares like some books do that are like this, but Patch, I don't know if it was because since his mother fell apart when his father died in Vietnam. So he never had a mother. He never had a father. He basically had Patch and her grandmother. He had no moral compass.
No.
I mean, he was very kind, very generous, but at the same time, he would just knock you flat on the floor for, the littlest thing, or steal. He stole a lot of stuff, and it didn't seem to bother him in the least. So his moral compass was a little bit off kilter. Saint, I think she was a saint. How smart these kids are. I was glad that he made them all intelligent.
Yeah.
And they all made a living. But then back to the dark. At first I thought, really, there's really a person in the room with him. And then I began to think, well, maybe he's just, what are you going to do laying in the dark? You're hallucinating or something. So I did think for a while that he was making this up, that she wasn't real. But I kept on thinking,
he was smart, but he wasn't that.
I mean,
smart.
she told him so many things.
Of places.
Yeah, and I think that what was her name? Grace. I think she was telling him all this so he could find her or get her away from this bad guy. Of course, it took 20 years or 10 at least. So it was an interesting story how that all unwound. And then Saint, how she grew into be a police officer. Well, actually an FBI officer and then a police officer, and how she kept after it. Years.
I think that's why she became.
I think so. Was
to find him.
Was to find this girl
and the girl.
And to find and then he disappeared for a while too. But she was able to he did show back up every once in a while. But yeah, it was. And then her story. Yeah, I was shocked at the end about.
Oh yeah,
her. I never dreamt. I just believed that part of it, and I didn't think, she didn't have it. After she went to tell Jimmy what she had done. Of course, she didn't get to finish the story, as we find out. But
I have to say, I was surprised at that too. I mean, I didn't. I knew just 2 paragraphs before they said it. I thought, I know what she's going back for. Then I figured it, but I never ever would have figured it out.
Well, I knew they were going to go. There. They were looking because they got the jar of honey, so they knew where to go find. Patch, but stopping off, and I thought, what are they doing here?
What we're talking about, if you haven't read the book, there are so many surprises in the book where just for you kind of think, oh wait, something else happened. Oh wait. It happens a lot, which I like.
Mhm.
I like that. I like kind of being thrown off my rocker just a little bit and being surprised. Everything that was a surprise made sense. And that you kind of, oh, that was good. That was exactly how it should have ended up. But there is one kind of really good one in the end that I don't think it's even one of the questions. So maybe we'll leave that for you guys to find out. There's something that's super exciting at the end that happens. And even the way that it ended, I think it ended exactly the way that it should be, because Saint, who Saint ended up with and who Patch ended up with, I feel like that was never right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that ended up good. All right, well, let's go ahead and go through the questions just a little bit. Brianna, were you looking? What did everybody get?
Everyone pretty
Five.
much rated a high 4 and a 5. They all really
4.5. I agree. School book characters in the beginning that I didn't remember when they should have later in the book. Lori agrees with Tracy. Some parts confusing, might listen to it again and pay attention more. That's funny. What I kept thinking too is that there were so many spots where it's like I would do like a little bookmark because I do the audio and I wanted to remember that quote.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's the other thing that made me think, the whole English lit experience. And in fact, it was funny that you thought the same thing. And so Tracy had forwarded some of like the best quotes in the book, and there's so many that are so good. I printed it off, but this one, if you ever get a chance to make someone smile, or better yet, make someone laugh, then you take it each and every time. I loved that. Anyway, he was just, where was the religious one? There was a really good.
I'm sorry. I found the religious I found that part of the book interesting. The grandmother, I mean, I didn't know how to take that. They rejected it, but at the same time they embraced it. Patched a little bit, Saint especially because of her grandmother and everything, and so they rejected it, but at the same time they would turn to it. Yeah, it wasn't a major part of it wasn't really a major part of the book, but when it did come up, I was interested to see how they were reacting.
Mm-hmm. I think that that's true. I mean, I think that so many of us find comfort in the church, but then sometimes when there's so much tragedy, which there was, then it can go the opposite way, and somebody can where were you?
Yeah.
Why didn't you protect me? Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of tragedy with those kids, and so I think that does make sense. You keep searching for that comfort, but then believing that, something else should be there. But
and actually there was quite a few, because Dr. Toombs, at the beginning.
Well, I think we have a question about that. Did anybody think, was that one of the questions? Because did you think Dr. Toombs was the one that did it? You didn't.
Just while they were questioning, when who was it? Did Saint go over there and they found all the blood and stuff?
The blood.
Well, see, I didn't connect that at all. Even when they had the picture of the clinic, that was, and they found his picture there. I never connected all that together.
Yeah,
ever.
I kind of didn't think he did it either.
I didn't think he did it, but I thought, why is this man so sad? And see, there was lots of things I didn't put together until they actually spelled it out for me.
All right, so most people, it was mostly a 5, right, Brianna? You're in there.
Yeah.
Brianna, yell out if there's something in there. Oh, Patrice, so shocked that she didn't abort the child. Makes sense, though, because she wanted to separate herself and the baby from Jimmy. That's right. It makes it exactly what she did. It was exactly the right thing. I don't want to have an abortion, but I want to not have this, not have Jimmy have this baby. That was exactly right. I think that's exactly perfect the way that it ended up.
Because she went to the clinic, and then did she go back to, then I don't know what happened in between, but then she went to Jimmy and she started to tell him all this, and then he beat her. So she left, and it said right there, she spent months all by herself.
Right.
Never going out. But it didn't occur to me
what she was
doing.
I know.
I just thought she just wanted to get over this, leave Jimmy,
Yes.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
All right, let's go on to question number 2. Patch and Saint are see themselves as the pirate and the beekeeper throughout their lives. What significance did these roles hold for their sense of self and their interactions with others? I think that you kind of already said it, that Patch, he did have a little questionable morals. He was going to take it. If it was booty and he could get it, he was taking it. And he was just going to kind of find his own way. And I think even the way that he sometimes talked with people, was a little bit honest and gruff. And again, even the way he dealt with Jimmy, he killed him.
It was an accident.
It was an accident, and you're right. You're right. It was an accident, and I did feel bad. I have to say that was one part of the book that I was upset. Yeah, I didn't want him to go to prison for that. I didn't think that was right. Because you're right, it was an accident, but I also think that.
But he had such a record behind him with all the,
right.
I mean, and Saint was going to go find him. Him robbing all these banks. She was going to go find him. That was her job,
right? And
put
him away.
And put him away. And I thought one thing I got a little tired of hearing Patch say about himself is that he was worth nothing to anybody. And I thought you had a wonderful talent, and you could be really kind to people. And even though you did steal stuff from everybody, you always gave back. And he never, ever, ever regarded himself as a wonderful, giving human being to a certain extent.
Well, I think it's that hard thing, I think that's why it just resonated so much. I think that children that are, raised in kind of a traumatic situation, I mean, they say that it's, nature versus nurture. And by the time you're 10, so by the time he was 10 years old, that it would take therapy and really a lot of work to change that mindset of you have value and you are an important person. And I think that was a lot of what the book was about was, these kids and how they grew up and through all of that tragedy and turmoil and family dynamics and how it ended. And I think it was just a battle, for much of it. And I think that's the same thing, the beekeeper, that for Saint to be able to, which that was the other part that was so sad was the bees.
Yeah, they left.
It hurt me that the bees left her. But I think the same thing, somebody that's just so dedicated and wanted so much to do the right thing and take care of Patch and never, ever, ever gave up. And, I think that there was some significant symbolism there. What are you guys all saying? I didn't think Toombs did it, but I knew he was helping. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Patrice said she, to Marjorie's comment, didn't think he ever loved himself because he didn't really have anyone to love him.
Yeah.
Yes, but he did.
But he did. Yeah.
Yes,
his
he
mom
did.
did love him, even though she was.
His mom did love him, but
then it got to the point where she just really should. Another thing I thought was good was Patch took his daughter in right away. Never rejected her. Never, said, I don't want, this is not a part. Yeah, he took her in right away.
Right. Probably saved him.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, didn't he make the comment the day, what happened the day that Grace died? In his mind, this happened and Grace is no longer a problem, although he still went looking for her.
But yeah, he was going to give up on that. And yeah, so much. So it was just a series, I think sometimes those books that I tend to not like a book that is, it's 3 different books in one and you have to read the whole series. I felt almost like that with this book. There was so much.
Yeah, because Saint and her little boy, there was nothing. And that's another whole story.
Sorry, we have a gaseous dog.
Don't be waving that over here.
Oh, Brianna, you're missing out, dear.
Lizzie.
The cookies
All right. Woof. All right. Question number 3.
Lizzie.
Wealth, poverty, and social status are major themes in this novel. From Patch's sorry, it's hard for me to read. I didn't print them off. I'm reading them on my phone. From Patch's complicated background to Saint's struggle with expectations, it's clear that money and class aren't just surface level issues. How do you think the characters' financial situations impact their choices and relationships, and how do they play a role in Patch's search for grace? I think that was a big, that was kind of a big thing. And I think that it's funny that, what was the little girl's name? Misty, Patch basically was abducted because he saved Misty. Misty got away because Patch rescued her. And then Misty, I think Misty really did love him, but I don't think that Patch allowed himself to be loved by Misty because totally different classes. And I also think, 1980s Appalachia, I think it is really very, very different. And I think that, and even now, I think sometimes there's differences with classes and, when parents get involved and think that you can do so much better and whatever. So I think that it was sort of interesting. And I think that oftentimes kids who come from nothing and come from poverty, I think it is a little bit different, and they make decisions a little bit differently because they have nothing and no help. And that tenacity that Saint had in searching for Patch to,
they made Saint, her grandmother worked, so she had piano lessons. It's the fact that she didn't dress or anything else. She talked about being skinny and not very pretty and all that kind of stuff. That was just an outward appearance. So they did okay. I mean, they took food to Patch and his mother. And so they were okay.
Where religion comes in for them, is that they were kind and giving to their neighbor. But I think that part of the poverty, there are different types of it. There's Patch, and then there's Saint. And I can identify with Saint. We didn't have a lot. My mom worked really hard, and we worked too as soon as we were able to have.
But you did okay.
But we had a moral compass, and we had a parent that was a good guide. Where Patch's mom loved him, but she was so broken that she wasn't able to help him on his good path. But I think that there are different types of poverty. Then he had emotional poverty, and and as well as financial. So
that's right. Brianna, what are they saying?
Not much yet.
I can't read that for them.
I know it's so small. I
know it's hard.
But
that's why we need Brianna on this side helping us. But she's on that side helping us. All right.
A lot of people agree though with Tracy.
I agree with Tracy.
Who was it? Darlene says about the photographer, the doctor, and the sheriff had a ring. I never thought that.
No.
But they did say, because the doctor and the sheriff kept saying that they were sorry for what they had done. And I kind of thought that too.
I couldn't remember what it was, but I didn't think it was part of the girls. I didn't think it was part of the.
Yeah, I'm just saying, what is in their past that's haunting them? Well, now we know, but I never put it all together until the very, very end when the sheriff did himself.
Yeah, the sheriff, that made me sad.
Yeah.
That made me sad. I think he, all right. Let's see. Question number 4 is, why does young Saint feel that she has to take on the responsibility of finding Patch, even though her grandmother, basically everyone else, tells her just to drop it? She pushes on. And what do you think drives her? And why does the chief not support her, even when that's Nix. And why does I was going to say, wait, that doesn't make sense. And why does Chief Nix support her even when he knows it could be dangerous? And I think that it's because nobody else was looking for him. Everybody else had given up. It's just this poor little kid who stole from everybody, whose mom is a druggie, and isn't that sad? And I think that she had to press on because everybody else had given up on him, and she was not going to give up. And she was just going to keep going. And thank God she did. I mean, that day there would have been, because it doesn't sound like Patch would have lived at all. And Nix, I think Nix, I think that Chief Nix, that
Mhm.
it was nice that he just kept an eye on all of the kids.
Mhm.
You know, that idea that he, you know, sat outside to make sure that,
Yeah.
you know, and making sure Patch got food and all of
Mhm.
that. I think he was
That
a
he
good
could
guy.
sleep at night
Yes.
by sitting out there. And
Yes. Yeah. Anybody else?
It wasn't said very much, but did you notice that Patch always had his room blacked out at night?
Oh, sure. Oh,
He
yeah.
had put the newspapers over the windows and stuff everywhere he went. Even when he was in jail, didn't he do that? Or
Yeah.
no, I don't think he could. I thought he ended up covering up some of the windows.
No, because
so
they took him down to some.
Yeah, I don't
other
know.
thing,
But
right?
yeah, he always wanted to be in the dark at night.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Allison was saying that she had two comments. Chief Nix felt like he didn't do enough for Patch, and that he should have contacted Children's Services, and he never had. So he was going to support whoever could find him.
Sure. That makes, I think
true,
Allison's
yeah.
exactly right about that.
Mhm.
Did you guys hear Brianna? Brianna, say it again.
Her
Oh, you guys can see her thing.
Allison's, yeah.
Allison's comment. That's exact. Well, and I also think that Chief Nix, it's kind of hard because when you call the child services, it's true that it probably would have been better for Patch because he would have had a more stable environment. But then what's going to happen to the mom?
Mhm.
So that's probably why he didn't, because at least Patch being there and checking on his mom, as long as he kind of
Yeah, but it
wants.
seems like it would
I
almost
know.
have been a favor to her to help her get cleaned up and
I know,
turned around
but-
in a sense. But who knows? Maybe it wouldn't happen.
It's the weird
anyway.
ethics,
Yeah.
you know, to utilitarian
tough.
ethics to figure out.
Tough call.
It is. All right.
But at
Any
least
other
he was
comments
there
there?
to watch that he was okay. Sorry, Marjorie.
Oh, you're fine.
Darlene says, yeah, she loved him so much and still wanted to protect him. She did. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go on to question number 5. Each character seems to be chasing something or someone. Jimmy pursues Saint. Saint pursues Patch. Patch pursues Grace. Does anyone actually get what they are after? Or is the pursuit what really defines and drives them?
Well, I think they kind of get what they want, but I also think that they're driven by the pursuit to find, reach that goal. And maybe Patch didn't get what he thought he was going to end up with when he found Grace.
Well, Misty pursued Patch, but Patch, when she went off to school, he let her go. Told her
he did, but he was pursuing
Yes.
Grace. He would never let Grace go.
he would never let Grace.
He would
go.
never let Grace
But
go.
then when him and Misty, and I always felt like Misty was pushing it, but he just kind of went along with it. And same with Jimmy. He pursued Saint like crazy. The
Mhm.
grandmother practically made her.
Yeah.
And then he turned out to be such I thought that was so strange that he ended up, because he failed a couple tests, he just completely fell apart.
fell
And then he
apart,
ends up
yeah.
being a veterinarian at a zoo. And it sounds like, so what
Right.
turned him around? I mean, her divorcing him? Is that what turned him? See, that was another whole story that was never
Maybe because
complete.
yeah.
Well, of course, he wasn't that important in the story, I guess, in the long run, because he's mentioned twice at the beginning.
Here's a
and then,
quote from Saint: "Women teach men how to be men." Said
Yes.
Saint. Of course. How
How
else
else do
do you think they
learn?
They would
learn?
learn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
So
I think that their commitment, to that person, to me, again, that's why I think it was so much about love, that Saint loved Patch so much. She was never going to give up on looking for him and never going to give up on him, even all of the other choices he was making as an adult. And I think Patch knew that Grace kept him alive, and Patch was never going to give up on Grace. And Misty knew that she was walking this earth because of Patch, and she didn't want to give up on Patch. And for whatever her love was about with him, I think it was real to her. I think it was different. I don't think they would have ever found each other any other way. And maybe they weren't really the right match, but I don't think anybody, to me, it is a commitment and maybe chasing, but to me, it's all about love, and not giving up.
And young, yes. And, and though when he did find her again, and when she was living at home, and you were talking about money and class, the mother of Misty, I don't know what her name was now.
I don't remember.
You know, after the father died, how Misty and her mother changed because he was all about stature, class, what we have, all that kind of stuff. Because the mother and Sammy, remember, they at the very end, they ended up being friends, at least, if nothing more. But still,
right,
it wasn't that important.
No. Allison says she was super sad when Saint married Jimmy. She knew it was a terrible mistake for so many reasons. I agree with that. Darlene says they fell short of their heart's desire, almost unrequited love for them all. That is absolutely right. I just kept thinking, Patch, that's who's right for you. Go back to your beekeeper.
But he didn't feel like she's the one who needed saved, right? You know, in the end, like.
Anne Burrell. Our friend Anne, she says she is going to win. She says she has never quit a book early before, but she must have for this one. So she said she would give it another go. So many times you stopped. Anne, tell us, put in the thing, what was it that made you put the book down? Was it the cussing? Was it the other thing too was that it is true that there was a lot going on, and there was a couple of people who said that they were a little confused. And it is true that it was a big story to tell because there were a lot of people, a lot of moving parts, a lot of, and what a huge job for the author for you to really understand each of those characters, you know, and each of them had so much, you know, trauma and so much growth and so many, you know, family dynamics. It was a big story to tell. And I think it was, you know, an English lit book. That's why I keep going back to that.
The one that I don't know that I was, there was times I was wondering, is he going back? You know, because sometimes in a story, you know, sometimes you read a book where it's in the present and then we go back.
Oh, yeah.
And he really, another thing, I didn't realize a man wrote this book until this morning.
Oh.
I had never looked on the back cover.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, for some reason, I thought it was a man. I thought it was a woman that wrote this book. I don't know why. I just did. Anyway.
I just want to see what he looked like, but I thought it was a man.
Yeah. Anyway, there was times I was a little confused now. Are we talking about, or would they jump? I mean, and as it turns out, it wasn't probably that important, but it kind of made you, there was times I was like, oh, come on, let's just move this along. But actually you could turn the page and another whole page, this chapter would start. So, you know, she'd start on something else. But anyway.
Depth too in the experience.
Anne says, not the profanity, just huge depth in the experiences for me to enjoy the story. I agree. I think that there are some that are like that. And you said it in the very beginning, you know, the way the book started and what the book was about. And we know that it was about a serial killer, you know, and there was a lot of pain in the book. But, you know, I think of Mice and Men, oh my gosh, you know, of human bondage. There's a lot of them that are like that I prefer a book that is that doesn't have so much tragedy in it, but I think every once in a while, just that emotional roller coaster. This was the book that after I read it, I think I waited 2 days. I couldn't read anything for a while. I just had to keep thinking about it and
I thought after I got done, well, at least I'm not going to have bad dreams.
No,
after I read this book,
because it ended okay.
It ended okay, and actually, yes, I mean, Patch was the only one I think that literally suffered in this book. I mean, they all had issues. We all have issues, and poverty. And then this hunt, you know, how many of us are on a quest to find something, do something for years and years and years. I don't know.
And not give up.
And not give up.
That to me was just amazing, you know, that they just, in fact, that's question number 6. Having purpose is huge in this book. But what happens when that purpose shifts or when it's no longer possible to fulfill? Look at how the character's purposes evolve over time. And I think that's right. And having something to live for. I think that's right. I mean, I think all of them, you know, Patch would not have given up on looking for Grace, which he kind of really didn't, but he did because of his daughter, you know, and I think that's right. And believing that that's your purpose and Saint for, you know, looking for Patch, and I mean all of that. So
The one thing I thought was interesting about this book, and I think I liked it because of it, there is no story other than at the very beginning about the serial killer.
right,
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah,
Actually.
I don't want to know what he was
I don't
doing
wanna
and
know
what
about
he
him.
was thinking. I mean,
Right.
when
Yeah.
Patch went to the farm, that's the only time that they knew his name, but
Right.
that he was ever described, mentioned, anything else.
I think that's right. And I think that that's a testament to our current times, because I think that, really back in 75 and 80, whenever there was some, mass murder and even the school shootings, you'd hear so much about the perpetrators and what maybe led them to do it and what was their life story. And it was true that everybody was getting sick of that. Do not give them any airtime at all.
Yeah.
Only let's talk about the victims. And I think that that's right. I kind of liked that. I think that's exactly right. He was just a piece of trash. But all right. So let's see. Question number 7. The novel touches on so many aspects of love: familial love, romantic love, love for art, and even self-love. What do you think the book says about those different kinds of love, and how do love and sacrifice play into the decisions the characters make? And again, for me, it was all about that. I think one character we haven't really talked about very much was Sammy, but I liked him. I liked him so much. I feel like he was kind of Patch's father figure, as much as the way that started out the relationship. But I mean, really somebody who was kind of there for him. And obviously he must have thought that too, the one person that he kept calling.
Yeah, because he
that
could
had it for
have
him.
ruined it for him.
He could have.
After he messed things up.
See, and that's what I found interesting about Patch. So here he goes to the art gallery. Yeah, I mean, he takes this painting, or how does
He
this
took paper.
Oh, that's right. He took paper.
paper.
He was cleaning, and then he took the paper. And so then, Sammy saw his drawings on these papers, so he set him up. I don't know how old Patch was by this time. Were they out of school yet?
No.
Patch understood exactly the kind of man he was and just let it go.
Right.
I mean, he didn't think, well, this is the life. This is what I'm going to do.
Right.
No, Sammy was Sammy.
Right. And I really think too that was one of the first lessons of don't take something that doesn't belong to you. Everybody in town knew that, Patch was a thief, but Sammy, hey, paper didn't belong to you.
Yeah, you're
and at first it's like, well, that's a little harsh. And then I thought, well, no, somebody needed to teach him that. So I really liked Sammy. I liked that Sammy, throughout his life kind of stayed part of his life. I liked him. Brianna, what's everybody saying?
Everybody loves Sammy.
Everybody loves Sammy.
Allison says he's like an oyster, hard shelled and soft and mushy on the inside.
That's right. That's right.
Darlene, that we all know a Sammy in our life.
We all know a Sally. A Sammy. That's right. I'm sorry. Sorry, Sally.
Sally was a good character. Everyone agrees. Love Sammy.
Oh, Sharon says it too. Sharon says I started and stopped also, mainly because there was so much going on, so much back and forth. I got a little lost. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not one of those. This was not one of those books that you could be multitasking while you were listening to it. I think there was a lot.
If I would have I might have stopped if I was reading a hardcover.
That's probably true.
I don't know, because I always listen to the books now.
Yeah.
But I really, really enjoyed. I really enjoy having the stories read to me.
I do too. I do too. I like it.
It might have been different if I had
reading it. Because I might flip back and forth. It probably would have taken much longer. They said that it's like a 9-hour read, and I thought, I don't think so. I think it was like a 12-hour listen.
Big.
It was a lot, because I often, even listening to it, I would go back.
Yeah.
Often.
I have a question for you guys. So when Patch was in jail, when he escaped, do you think he planned all that?
I think that there was a whole network.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. He had some.
He had help
people.
Everywhere.
He had, but the only thing that was a little confusing was they said that when they investigated, the guy that cut the power cord to the prison,
and you know who that was?
He ended up being
the father of one of the girls.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how he got the
he had a network, and I think that. And it's funny too, because you think about even that aspect of it, that you had mentioned that his morals were a little, his moral compass was a little bit different. And, I think that that's what a lot of those parents, the fact that he found things and he found them and
he
painted them and
gave them,
I think he just had that. He was a very black or white, and some of what we would think was white is really not. But I think he was true to himself, who he was. But and I think that's why he had these people that would do anything for him. Yeah. I thought that was a really good part. Yeah, really good part. Okay, last question. I'm kind of trying to hurry because we have some voting to do. What time is it? Oh, we're good. We're good on time. 11:44. Okay, last question is, this book is full of messed up family dynamics between Patch and his mom, Ivy, between Saint and Norma, Misty and Charlotte. It's clear that family isn't always about happy holidays and perfect reunions. What family relationship hit you the hardest? And did any of them surprise you?
No. I mean, that's what made up the story.
Yeah.
That's how they created the character. And, the mother I felt the most sorry for was Ivy.
Me too. I felt bad for her. I feel like Ivy didn't have
didn't
any
get
resources
the help that she needed at the very beginning.
No resources. And that, changed, of course, the way that Patch was raised and his moral compass. And but I thought it was really interesting that he gave us so many, a grandmother that raised the granddaughter, a mother that couldn't cope, that was raising a boy, and the wealthy family, and then even the other families that we met. I thought it was just really interesting that there were so many.
Oh, and the father giving Patch money to break up with his daughter.
Yes. Yeah.
I was surprised he kept the check.
Did he keep it?
But didn't he use it?
Well,
I think he used it,
but then he give it away.
He gives everything. I mean, he never kept a dang dime.
No.
He thought $200 in his pocket for all of his travels was enough. So I think he kept it, but only in his use for
somewhere along the line, because I knew he had this check in his pocket. It doesn't really have this check in his pocket, but he might have given it to somebody.
Yeah, I don't think he kept it. Let's see what everybody else is saying. Sometimes the means justify the end. That's right. Even if it isn't actually kosher, especially in desperation. I agree with that. I think that, I find myself like in movies, where somebody's finally getting away from somebody and somebody's going to get murdered. And they finally knock the guy down and they run. It's like, don't run, kill him first and then run. And I always think, that's probably questionable. But
I question myself all the time on that because, when the good guy's getting beat up, it's like, no, you're bad. But the bad guy,
the good guy runs. Don't run, kill him. Finish him off right now.
Do it.
That's right. Anyway, side note. Sorry, but but I think that's right. The ends justify the means. Disappointed that Saint didn't tell Norma how Jimmy was treating her. That's a funny thing. I'll tell you, I kind of identify with that just a little bit. It would have hurt her. There was no purpose to tell the grandma that the grandma was wrong. And that
the grandmother asked her after she was so disappointed, what she had done and that she had left him and everything else. And then she either apologize? Did the grandmother apologize to her or say, was I wrong? But Saint never answered her.
Yeah, I think Saint didn't want her to harbor any guilt. I mean, the grandma was just trying to help Saint to make
they were probably my favorite family.
I know. I loved
both
them.
of them.
I loved that everybody thought the grandma was a lesbian.
That was what was so cool about her. Like,
I loved her. I feel like I could totally picture
her.
I know. I liked her a lot.
Yeah, she was great. She was
all right.
Darlene had said that he had used the check to buy the house for his mom.
I knew he used the check for something, but he took it.
Thank you, Darlene.
And of course, I don't think the mother knew
but
that
for her. But for somebody else, not for his own game.
Yeah.
But he knew that they weren't going anywhere.
And why wouldn't he take it? I mean, he stole from everybody his whole life. He was a thief. He was a professional thief. Take the dang money. I mean, it wouldn't have made sense.
I think he understood the father, that the father was trying to justify, his place in society. And this is how you handle people you didn't want around. I mean, you do see this in movies or whatever, read in other books. But in a way, I was a little surprised that Patch took the money. But then, yes, later he did do something. They did mention that he did do something with it other than just cash the check.
Oh, Robin says, I feel like I missed that. Robin says, most surprising to me were Nix and Toombs's relationship and how Sammy and Misty's mother had been in love when young.
Oh, I missed that.
Sammy's mother?
Sammy
and
Misty's mom were in love when they were young.
Oh,
I totally missed that.
I guess I missed that.
We all missed that. Psh, good catch, Robin.
Yeah.
I wonder what was going on that I was not paying attention.
Did they,
at that part.
okay, in the book, is it where Misty
And then
and
Allison
Sammy
says,
kind
"Me
of get
too."
back together again at the end? Did they mention that there? Where did they mention it?
They did kind of get back together in the end. I mean, I don't know about get back together, but they were flirting.
They were seeing each other.
Seeing each other, yeah, probably more than flirting. You know, Sammy, right?
Well,
yeah,
that was Sammy.
Yeah, they were doing more than flirting. That's right. Not that kind of book. I mean, it was, but okay. Let's see. He used to check, right? Thought he bought a house for his mom. Okay, everybody knew it.
Okay.
We missed it. Yeah, that was near the end. We were drinking wine, talking about it. Yes, yeah, I think that's right because they were back together. See, that's how a book should end. Just happy ending. I like the happy ending part of it. I thought.
Well,
it was
and I
really
was glad
good.
that Patch went back to painting. He said on the boat that he painted.
Yeah.
I just wondered how long he was going to be safe on this boat because the FBI guy that hired Saint.
I think they were going to stop looking for him.
Were they going to stop looking for him?
I think they
you
were.
really think so?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he paid his debt to society.
I think he did. And I think that the only person that was tenacious enough to find him and do this was going to be Saint. And I think the fact that he saved Saint's life, I think that, nope, now we're done. I think that they don't need to waste their resources on somebody who is not a menace to society. In fact, exactly the opposite. So I think
he
that
quit
it's
robbing banks unless he started in again.
Well,
Well, I guess his paintings must have given him a.
Yeah.
Betty asked, how old do you think Sammy was? She had a hard time picturing it.
Picturing him.
I'd say
Well,
his 50s.
she'd be the same age as Mrs. Myers, Misty's mom.
Yeah.
So if they were
50s.
Yeah.
That's what my picture of Sammy is this guy wearing pink or yellow flare, pants and a pink shirt and wearing weird Elton John.
Elton John.
No, I didn't picture him like that.
That's
because
how
of
I
his-
picture
I
him.
had him pictured more, and which is kind of weird because in Appalachia, and you think about even somebody who is very well dressed, they wouldn't be, city well dressed, and that's what I think of him. I think that he was more New York flair, shoes without socks. Here in our area, no man wears shoes without socks. It's just weird. But it's not weird when you go to the city, when you go to
Well, they talked about him
Australia.
dressing in his glitzy tux jacket.
Yeah,
and,
I think he
had
a lot of style, a lot of New York flair, a lot of class, and
drank a lot.
drank an awful lot. Yeah, I think he was pretty.
I don't know
sexy.
how he could function.
Drank a lot. How did you picture him, Tracy? I think.
Well, I was just trying to think, it was what the 80s, 70s, not all flamboyant like that, but a little bit more refined and a little classy with a little bit of edge to him. And then his cigarettes and drinks.
Well, was it?
Yes.
Was it the grandmother that
flair
smoked
was in his-
cigars?
The grandmother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the grandmother did.
Mhm.
Isn't that funny? All right. So let's do this. Let's go. Hold on. Brianna, how do I find in here?
But he's like, oh, so like a Tom Selleck. He had to be good looking.
I know, right? Yes. Yes.
Okay, I have another question.
Okay.
Was Saint? This is probably maybe I shouldn't even ask this question. Please, this is just a simple question. Was Saint black or white?
Oh, I never even thought
I
about
never
color.
even thought about it.
Never
Would you
thought of
assume she
color.
was?
I pictured her white.
I just pictured the whole.
I pictured everybody white.
in this. Yeah,
That's probably not right.
I don't know.
That's what you have to do is you have to,
Yeah.
but Saint, the name, but I guess I remember
But
how
I
she got
think
her name.
because
but-
of the name and that her grandmother was the
Mhm.
bus driver,
Mhm.
and I mean that's stereotyping
question.
and
Well, and in
it just
1975, I
occurred to
think that
me.
might have been an issue. I mean, not an issue, but I
Well,
think that would
that's
have
I
come
mean,
up.
they called her a lesbian, and apparently they.
Yeah.
So, but I think if they were anyway, I just wondered that one day.
Oh yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. All right. What we still have to do. Brianna,
Mary
can
said
she
she had
says-
pictured her and her grandma black.
Really?
I kind of did.
She did too.
Huh.
I mean, didn't make any difference to the story.
Totally doesn't make any difference, but Brianna, will you find my tags in here of ones that I've read?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so what we have to do, thank you all so much. That was a really good discussion. A lot of you guys, all of so what we have to do is we were just busy, the 12 days of Christmas stuff and holiday, I don't remember what all, but anyway, Brianna had the newsletter ready for you guys to vote on our next book that we're going to read. And then by the time she realized, was it last week? It's like, gosh, what are we going to do? We decided that for those of you guys that come and join us all the time, we're going to vote real quick. So let me tell you about the 4 books because did we even send it out to say what the 4 books were?
No.
Oh, and here's the other thing too. We've got about 8 more in the queue of ones that people have recommended. And so be thinking and start, we need to build that up again. And remember, we talked a couple of months ago that are we going too fast? Is it too many? And I think everybody said the same thing. No, I read a lot. Keep telling us. And now that's why Brianna didn't read this book, is because she's still like 8 weeks out before she can even get this book.
Yeah.
And sometimes that happens, but I think it's still okay. You know, this book, even knowing the weird little twists or whatever, and maybe it'll even be more helpful then it'll help her to kind of know what's happening, because
kind of move along with
there's
it.
a lot going on in this book. But and did you see there's a couple people who said, Brianna, read it anyway and tell us what you think. But
yeah.
All right. So all of these are books that were recommended. I have read 3 of the 4. The 4th one I'm in the middle of, and I'll tell you what. So one of them is the Wharton Plot, Wharton, the Wharton Plot. And that is actually one that it's a true story. It's historical fiction. This is the one that I am currently, I wouldn't even say I'm in the middle of. I'm having a hard time making it through it, but let me tell you why. It's because, oh Lord, sorry, it hasn't wafted you yet. The dog.
I'm just holding my breath.
Oh. The problem that I'm having with the Wharton Plot is that Lizzie, go
I'm sitting over here.
Oh, don't press on her tummy.
I was trying to get her to leave, but she won't even wake up.
Lizzie,
Oh.
no.
Going by Brianna.
Take it with you.
Woofda. Anyways, the only problem I have with it, let me tell you what it's about, but the only problem I have is that on audiobook, one woman is reading it, which is fine. She's not even doing the voices. She's not even, now she sounds like a man.
Oh.
And now she's narrator. And now she sounds like the
Just
woman.
reading.
She's just reading it. And I find that it's weird that matters to me, but I always
it would
need
matter
to know
me,
who's
but I don't
talking.
listen, so.
And so it's bothering me a little bit. And so
Is the story good though? Or you can
it's a true story about this gal. Let me read to you.
Is it about the Wharton School of Business?
Oh, I had not put that
They are
together.
all so
It must be.
glad that they could not smell that with you.
Oh my God.
Glad they're
It's
at
like
home,
it's
glad
like
on
not breathable air.
television.
This is what it's about. In New York City, 1911, Edith Wharton, almost equally famed for her novels and her sharp tongue, is bone tired of Manhattan, finding herself at a crossroads with both her marriage and her writing. She makes the decision to leave America, her publisher, her love, and her loveless marriage. And then dashing novelist David Graham Phillips, a writer and with often notorious ideas about society and women's place in it, is shot to death outside the Princeton Club. Edith herself met the man only once when the two formed a mutual distaste over tea in the Palm Court of the Belmont Hotel. And when Phillips is killed, Edith's life takes another turn. His sister is convinced that Graham was killed by someone determined to stop the publication of his next book, which promised to uncover secrets that powerful people would rather stay hidden. Though unconvinced, Edith is also curious. What kind of book could push someone to kill? Inspired by a true story, the Wharton Plot follows Edith Wharton through the fading years of the Gilded Age in a city she once loved so much, telling a tale of time, fame, love, and murder as she becomes obsessed with solving a crime.
Okay.
So maybe not the Wharton person, but
Nope.
I am still in the early part of the book where it's kind of describing her, and she's kind of a little bit cantankerous, and she is a woman that knows her mind and speaks her mind. And back then, when was it, 1911? You did not do that. That was before women's suffrage and before women's rights. And anyway,
Well, if you had enough money, you could get away with it.
Yeah. Brianna, could you find that for me again? I'm sorry,
yes.
I got out of that. Anyway, so that's the Wharton Plot. So that's one of them. And I think it probably will be a really good book. I just need to get my head on right about the way that they read it.
Ruth said same thing. Agreed with you. Could finish because of the voices. Amber although said she has read it and loved it.
Read it and loved it.
And did you audiobook it, or did you?
Can you hear Brianna? Brianna, she must have read it because we're heading up to the cabin. I could get a hard copy and old school it because I want to read it. But anyway, so that's we're voting. That's one option. The other one is If We Were Villains. I listened to If We Were Villains. I think I even talked about this in a Faber chat. I loved it. I mean, I'm just going to say, I probably shouldn't say that yet, but I want to tell you what it's about. It was the one that is about it's modern day, a college, an arts college. What do they say that it's about? And they only do Shakespeare plays. And the 7 seniors that are going to college, there is a murder. And anyway, so it's really pretty interesting. But what I thought was really interesting about it is that I would say I'm not necessarily a Shakespeare fan. Talk about tragedies and, hard to listen to, but it's funny that there was so many parallels and so much that you learned about Shakespeare that it made me want to go see or read Hamlet and, a couple of these and King Lear. And so anyway, so I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a really weird premise for a book, very unusual, not weird in a weird way, but I mean, unusual and fresh and he really developed the characters, or she really developed the characters really well. And it ends, there's a lot of mystery. You don't really know, what happened until the very end, which is I love that. So it just says, this is how they talk about it. They say, Oliver Marks has just served 10 years in jail for a murder he may or may not have committed. On the day he's released, he's greeted by the man who put him in prison. Detective Colburn is retiring, but before he does, he wants to know what really happened a decade ago. As one of 7 young actors studying Shakespeare at an elite arts college, Oliver and his friends play the same roles on stage and off: hero, villain, tyrant, temptress. But when the casting changes and the secondary characters usurp the stars, the plays spill dangerously over into life, and one of them is found dead. I thought it was really good. I would suggest that everybody read it, but whether or not you guys vote on that one, let's see. Let me go back to, so that's 2. So we have the Wharton Plot, If We Were Villains. The other one, Behind Her Eyes. Oops, Brianna, I lost it again. I'm sorry. Help me. Oh, sorry. She keeps zapping me. First, let's talk about Before We Were Yours. Oh my gosh, Before We Were Yours. I think
that was
Allison
this read.
Yeah, that's the other. We're voting. That's the third option to vote on. Before We Were Yours, by Lisa Wingate. And let me tell you what it's about. Blockbuster hit, over 2 million copies sold, New York Times bestseller. Memphis, 1939, 12-year-old Real Foss and her 4 younger siblings live a magical life aboard their family's Mississippi River shanty boat. But when their father must rush their mother to the hospital one stormy night, Real is left in charge until strangers arrive in force. Wrenched from all that is familiar and thrown into a Tennessee Children's Home Society orphanage, the Foss children are assured they will soon be returned to their parents, but they quickly realize the dark truth. At the mercy of the facility's cruel director, Real fights to keep her sisters and brothers together in a world of danger and uncertainty. And then in present day, Aiken, born into wealth and privilege. In Aiken, South Carolina, present day, born into wealth and privilege, Avery Stafford seems to have it all: a successful career as a federal prosecutor, handsome fiance, and a lavish wedding on the horizon. But when Avery returns home to help her father with, is what that should say, a health crisis, a chance encounter leaves her with an uncomfortable questions and compels her to take a journey through her family's long hidden history on a path that will ultimately lead them either to devastation or redemption. So here's the thing that you need to know. Based on one of America's most notorious real life scandals, in which Georgia Tan, that's the name of the person, a real person, director of a Memphis-based adoption organization, kidnapped and sold poor children to wealthy families all over the country. They would go steal them. I'm going to tell you, it is a hard book to read. This is another one that there may be some nightmares. It is a hard book to read, what happens to some of those children. But I was glad that I read it. I'm going to say that that's part of our American history that I had no idea, would have never even thought about something like that happening. I love the books that are set in the South. There's a lot about the Mississippi River. It was an interesting book, and another one that kept your attention because you kind of knew, but you didn't know, who is she really and how is she really related and who is her sister, and you don't know until the very end how they're all related or if they're related. And so it was, I thought, super interesting, kept my attention the entire time. The fact that it was a true story, I was a little invested, even though super, super, super hard read, because it's about children.
A lot have read it and they really like it.
A lot have read it. It's one of those, be warned. I think people should read it, but be warned. And then the last one, so that's one that we're voting on, the Wharton Plot, Behind Her Eyes, Before We Were Yours. Oh, no, If We Were Villains, Behind Her Eyes. Did you find that one for me?
It was.
Oh, here it is. Behind Her Eyes.
Isn't that a Netflix?
Is it?
Title?
It was a good book.
Is it a good book?
Was it? Is it? Let's see. Soon to be a Netflix original series.
Like I saw it advertised. Maybe is it coming?
Stephen King described it as bloody brilliant. It's an eerie thriller. Pinbrook keeps us guessing about who's manipulating whom until the very end. Okay, so this is what it's about. Louise is a single mom, a secretary stuck in a modern day rut. On a rare night out, she meets a man in a bar and sparks fly. Though she leaves right after they kiss, she's thrilled she finally connected with someone. When Louise arrives at work on Monday, she meets her new boss, David, the man from the bar. The very married man from the bar, who says the kiss was a terrible mistake, but who still can't keep his eyes off of Louise. And then Louise bumps into Adele, who is new to town and in need of a friend, but she also just happens to be married to David. And if you think you know where this story is going, think again, because Behind Her Eyes is like no other book you've ever read before. David and Adele look like the picture perfect husband and wife, but then why is David so controlling? And why is Adele so scared of him? As Louise is drawn into David and Adele's orbit, she uncovers more puzzling questions than answers. The only thing that is crystal clear is that something in this marriage is very, very wrong. But Louise can't guess how wrong and how far a person might go to protect their marriage's secrets. I'm going to tell you, this was a book that I came to work and said, oh my gosh. Cannot stop thinking
That
about
would be
it.
my vote. From everyone
Cannot.
you read, that would be what I would vote for.
Oh, and you don't even know. You do not even know what is going to happen. It is the strangest, not strange, like just like not weird in a weird way. Such a unique story, and I guarantee you will not be able to stop thinking about it. You will not be able. That's why I wanted to make sure and find it, because I didn't want to let anything go. I wanted to read exactly what they said it was about, because you don't even know. Has anybody here read it?
No one has said so yet.
No one has said so yet. Before We Were Yours is a great book. Read that one too.
Yeah, they've all read that one.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so we probably don't want to pick that one. Let's pick something different. And I'll tell you, behind her eyes, I would also say is a fairly
Allison hadn't read Behind Her Eyes. She's already put it on hold in her queue. So
put it on hold. I'll tell you, the thing about Behind Her Eyes is that there isn't anything. There's no. I can't remember. There might be some sex scenes in it, maybe, but there isn't anything else that's. You're not gonna have nightmares. There isn't any. You're not gonna stay up at night worrying about that kind of thing. It's just.
Who was the reader?
Super unique.
The author from Behind Her Eyes.
Oh, it was Sarah Pinborough. Sarah Pinborough. It looks like, can you guys see? It looks like that.
That's the one about the couple.
The couple.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
it's so.
Well, the Wharton one actually has her name in it. Behind Her Eyes.
Behind Her Eyes. So these are the ones that we're voting on, and I feel like we should vote today. So we've got the Wharton Plot, which I think would be good. I am going to work. I think I am going to switch though and read it, not listen to it. Behind Her Eyes. If We Were Villains. Very, very good. Very probably If We Were Villains is probably more of a book club book, because it's very interesting, and I mean it's very, very good also, and interesting. And then Before We Were Yours, super scary.
Behind Her Eyes is a sweeping.
Do it. Woo!
Okay, that's my choice too.
Yay.
Let's do it.
Okay. Which one? Behind Her Eyes.
Behind Her Eyes.
Okay, as long as it's not that last one.
If We Were Villains.
Before
We Were Yours.
I don't
Before We Were Yours is hard. Look, it makes my hair stand up thinking about it. I mean, I'm glad that I read it, but not when you. I mean, a hard read, hard read, emotional read. The days that it's like, oh, is anything wrong with you? No, I'm just reading a book. So emotional. But yeah, Behind Her Eyes. Ooh, you will miss a day of work. Listen,
You heard
that
it.
one. Yeah,
You heard
it's
it
okay.
here.
Call in for snow. It's a snow day.
Calling in
It's a
because-
snow day. I'm gonna stay home with my. Okay. All right. We have kept you guys way longer. I apologize for that, but really good. All right. So we have the book for, and then, but these will be the four. Brianna will follow up. Just so you guys can put these. And then remember to send an email either to me or info at either Cindy@fabricpatch.net or info@fabricpatch.net, and let us know some other good ones that we can add. It's always good I always like that, to be reading ahead, and because I have to get them in my queue as quickly as possible.
The one I suggested was like, I don't have my phone in front of me, but I looked up in my Libby, and it was a long time. Of course, I ordered it anyway. I should be getting it any day. So I'm going to read it just to. Yeah.
All right, you guys, any last minute, anythings down here? Everybody's good? I vote Behind Her Eyes, Behind Her Eyes. Good. Yeah. Just wait.
Okay.
I want y'all to text me and go, oh my gosh. It's good.
Ready to
It's
go.
good. I think you'll like it.
Okay.
I hope you like. I don't remember who suggested it the first time, but it was good. All right, you guys. We're gonna let you guys go. We're gonna go. I know we got Pat, and you're trapped.
I'm trapped.
Oh, let's just sit a little longer. We have some cookies. All right, bye guys.
Bye guys. That was interesting.
Okay.